Hi, everybody. I'm Mel Dorr, the Aloha Shirt Psychic, and I'm so happy tonight. We've got Kevin Chandler in the house. Kevin's
Yes.
Loving Vibrations Tarot.
Hello, Mel, and hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well.
So, Kevin, if they want to get a hold of you, what's your phone number?
You can call me or text me at 440-376-4088, or you can email me at kevinlovingvibrations@gmail.com.
Kevin Loving Vibrations uh, at Gmail.
Yep.
All right. And everybody check out Kevin's channel. Same, Kevin's Loving Vibrations Tarot. Go over there and hit thumbs up. And if you like this tonight, hit thumbs up and subscribe. And
Yeah.
by the way, I've still got some openings on my gorilla tour. Keep talking about it. Just a few more openings. So if you're interested, call me. Call my office, 847-590-5411. Again, 847-590-5411. So Kevin sees I'm going to sell it out. So I guess that's good.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have a couple months still, right? Is it December?
Well, no, actually, I don't,
Okay.
because final payments due December the 7th, but they have to get the licenses for us to see the gorillas and the chimpanzees a lot sooner because there's only so many. And so I've already got 16 licenses. But I've got room probably for around four more people. I would have had, I mean, it was sold out. It was sold out. But some people backed out because they went online and there's a travel advisory to Uganda, but there's always a travel advisory to Uganda. And the places that we're going will be the safest places in Africa. The game reserves that we're going to be on. I say our expedition, our safari is led by park rangers, and they're armed, not because of people, but in likely event somebody gets charged by an animal, which has never happened. They'll shoot up in the air. But they're the safest places in Africa.
Yeah,
So
I feel it'll be a safe trip.
I know it will be. So I'm not worried about it. Then people read about all the shots you need, but right now all that's required is a yellow fever shot and a COVID vaccination. So there we go. So now that I've got the infomercial out of the way, how are you feeling, Kevin? I know you weren't feeling well. That's why we didn't do last week.
Yeah. I got a bad cold from my niece. And then over the weekend, I had like a really bad TMJ flare up.
Ooh.
So that wasn't fun. But I feel so much better this week. You can still hear it in my voice a little bit. I was starting to get laryngitis, but yeah, feeling really good.
Oh, good. All right. Well, there's a lot to talk about,
Yes,
but
there is.
uh, we had all predicted that, and you had said too, I had said, Linda had said, a lot of us have said that we saw Trump's empire crumbling.
Mm-hmm.
And hold on, let me look at my notes here. Just give me 1 second. I guess the Attorney General in New York is filing a civil lawsuit saying that there was staggering fraud, $250 million worth. And she's trying to ban them from doing business in New York. And my guides tell me she will win.
Yep.
I guess what happened, he grossly inflated the net worth of the properties. And so, and that I always said, my guide showed me that's why he wouldn't release his income tax records, because it would show that he didn't have as much money as he said he did, or that he had grossly inflated those properties.
Yep.
And so, now a lot of his properties are being investigated. For example, Trump Tower in Chicago, it cost like $850 million to build, but it was off Trump's books because he said that the property in Chicago was worthless, but yet he used it as collateral to purchase other properties. And that's what he did with a lot of his other buildings. And then he said that, what was it? His apartment was like 3 times larger.
Yeah.
And he was worth 327 million. It was 1/3 of that amount. And then Mar-a-Lago, he said 750 million, and it was like 75 million. I mean,
And Letitia James said that was just some very small examples of all the fraud that they've collected. They have a lot of information. And I think she said that she was sending that out to the Southern District of New York and also the IRS. And I feel he's going to be in a lot of trouble because of that.
well, there's another thing here too. It's also going to go to the Department of Justice because it's bank fraud. And that's federal.
Yeah.
And so he's going to be under indictment. You know, we always said that a woman in New York would bring him down. And maybe this woman is Letitia James. I don't know. But, and we always said that New York would bring, that the New York thing is not over.
Yep.
But I think that prosecutor in New York, I forget the guy's name.
Alvin Bragg.
I'm sorry?
Alvin Bragg.
Yeah, well, I won't say what I'm thinking, but there was a reason that Alvin Bragg kind of said the investigation's open, but didn't do anymore. But I see him out of that job.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yeah, I don't feel like that investigation's going to be over.
No, because I see somebody else taking charge of it.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing indictments coming from the state of New York, but also from the federal government.
Me too.
And the federal government takes precedence. You know, I had this vision in Chicago. Every time I see Trump Tower, I want to throw up. But I've been saying this all along. I saw those letters coming down and a big crowd cheering. But what I hope the city does, and maybe we could do a petition for that, is at first just take the T down and leave RUMP up there for about 3 or 4 weeks. And the other thing is Letitia James is trying to keep him from doing any kind of business in New York.
Yep.
And I think that's going to hit with Chicago too, that they'll take his name off that building, especially if there's fraud involved, and that they're going to try to keep him from doing business here as well. I wonder what Florida's going to do.
Right. I feel like his whole entire empire just comes crumbling down.
I had a vision where I saw Mar-a-Lago just, I mean, not literally.
Yeah.
It was you know, it was like metaphor. And here we go. Yep, his world is crumbling. And you know, it's funny. He can try some legal maneuvers, but I think he's all maneuvered out on this one in New York.
Well, I mean, he's already delayed that investigation. I think it's been going on for over 3 years now.
Oh, well, thank God it did.
Yeah.
Because he really told on himself, and it gave them a lot more time to dig up a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
I knew they were doing things behind closed doors. I felt it. My guides show me, and here we are.
I just feel like there's so many investigations, and Trump is in so many troubles with many different areas. I mean, you have what's going on in Georgia. The DOJ has several cases on him. New York.
Well, Cohn, his former lawyer that went to jail, said that he is predicting there's going to be indictments there.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I got a funny feeling, you know, you had said, or somebody had said his daughter and also his 2 sons would be under indictment. And I think this New York thing as well.
I've always felt Don Jr. spending some time behind bars. But I feel Ivanka will be one of those women that destroys Trump, because I feel like she will turn on her father and give evidence to save herself.
Okay. And speaking of the federal government and the Southern District of Florida, Aileen Cannon, the loose cannon, the DOJ won its case. There was, I think, in the investigation of Trump's stolen documents, they appealed her decision. And then I got to read this. Appeals panel of 3 judges, 2 were Trump appointees, and 1 was an appointee by Obama, ruled that Cannon erred and said the FBI and the DOJ can resume their investigation into the documents Trump took from the government. It was a unanimous decision.
Yep.
So it was really an out and out repudiation of Cannon by these three judges. They said she had absolutely no jurisdiction over this matter. And the district court accused her of not using her discretion. I'm sorry, the appeals court said they accused her of not using discretion and exercising jurisdiction over classified documents. And they said that she abused her discretion.
Yep.
That's huge. I saw Trump's interview on Fox and he says, "Oh, I can just think that they're declassified."
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
He's just going to wave that magic declassification wand. And
well, he's pivoting already. I mean, how many times do we have to see him pivot? He doesn't really have a defense.
Well, he told on himself because he said right there, "I just thought they were declassified." So he told on himself. He always does.
Right. So that he declassified them. Now he can declassify them just by thinking about it. And the reason why he's bringing this up is because that special master that was one that he chose isn't tolerating his crap,
Well, and the records contain zero evidence that any of those documents were declassified. But it doesn't matter. What matters if they were classified or not. But the bigger picture, and this is what Trump's diverting and stepping around, is that it didn't matter. It did matter. But even if they were declassified by him, they weren't his documents to take.
Right.
And he stole government property. And the other thing is he said something about I can just think something and it's declassified, and it is, and I can send them to wherever, and that's what got me nervous. Is wherever.
I hadn't heard that part.
Oh yeah, and we know
yeah
where those wherevers were, and that's going to all come to fruition. That a lot of our secrets were handed over to foreign governments, especially in a Russian-speaking one. So that's all going to come out. Anyway,
there's lots of stuff going on.
One of my friends is a criminal defense attorney for the federal system, and he said, "Mel, in law school, the first thing we learned is we tell defendants don't talk because you can incriminate yourself."
Right.
When Trump gives these interviews, all of this stuff is going to be used against him in court.
Yep.
So you knew that they were classified. You said you thought they were declassified, but you didn't declassify anything except in your head. You didn't go through the processes. And then you took government documents which didn't belong to you. I mean, I can see all kinds of count right there. And not to mention the bank fraud accounts that's going to be levied against him in the federal government because of the shenanigans in New York. I can name 5 already.
Yeah. And they're doing the January 6th. I feel like next year it's just going to be trial after trial after trial for Trump.
Well, I think what they're already doing is behind closed doors, getting people to say, "You cooperate with us and we'll charge you with this instead of this."
Right. And maybe that's how Ivanka gets out of jail time.
Well, I see Cannon off the bench. My guide showed me that. Because she stated that Trump deserves special treatment because he was a former president. Excuse me, nobody's above the law, Judge Cannon.
Right.
I can call her judge.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I see her being removed.
Well, I don't know if she's impeached or she resigns, but I do not see her on the bench. And I see an investigation there because my guides are giving me question marks about the process through which she was chosen for that case. It's
right.
At random, but I'm hearing
no.
There's some shenanigans.
Yeah, and they need to look into her finances, and I think they'll find a lot.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Right.
All righty. So that's all I got to say now.
Well, and we have they're saying the last January 6th hearing is next Thursday, but I'm kind of feeling another hearing in October or 2.
There's going to be some explosive witnesses coming forward. And they're not going to
Amy Thomas.
give those hearings up until they leave office. Not going to happen.
Yeah, I think they were saying that this is supposed to be the final, hearing, but I feel at least another one or two more next month.
Now somebody asked Maggie G, is Ron DeSatan's horrible publicity stunt the end of his career about telling those people and sending them to Martha's Vineyard and all that came out?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Well, he and Abbott are saying they didn't break the law, but these people are going to come forward and testify, and it's going to be proven that they did in fact break the law.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I see it being the end of his career, but I see it being affecting him in his reelection very negatively. There's another scandal coming up for DeSatan too, and I've always felt like for entertainment purposes only, it is connected to Matt Gaetz.
Well, we shall see. Okay. Yeah. Marion Purnell, do you see help coming soon for those who suffer with mental illness? I've been a proponent of mental health for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I suffered depression. I was hospitalized for it once. It wasn't suicidal depression, but people say when you're depressed, oh, you could just feel better if you want to. That's no.
Yeah.
Nobody chooses depression. It's kind of like the black hole, And it's funny that in this country, we treat other illnesses, but we look at mental illness as something separate. And it's almost like there's a stigma attached.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a lot of more people coming forward, myself included, saying that we really need mental health reform in this country and identifying mental illness, treatment modalities for mental illness, helping those who are mentally ill. So it's going to take a while, but I do see a lot more help coming for people who suffer from mental illness.
I feel like Biden is going to make that a priority. I feel like it might be a couple of years before there's a lot of real changes and restructuring that system. But I do see some really good changes with that. I feel like it's like 2 years out.
Now, Jenny Brown, this is a really good question.
Yes.
And people wonder how people can become radicalized in Muslim countries and other countries. Well, it's happening here. Look at what's going on with the ultra-Christian, supposed Christian, right? This Christian nationalism. It's becoming radicalized with all this QAnon stuff. And I remember back when I was in college, back when State Street was a prairie, that's a Chicago joke.
Okay.
When the Shah took over, when the Shah of Iran was overthrown and the Ayatollah Khomeini staged that revolution. But I had said back then, there's going to be years to come, but people will protest.
Yeah.
And I see that it's not going to be that much of a theocracy at some point. It'll be more democratic.
Yeah, I do too.
I preface that because Jenny Brown said, hi, Kevin and Mel, what's going to happen in Iran regarding the murder of a woman not wearing her hijab? I guess the woman was arrested because she didn't have it. She was wearing it, but it wasn't worn correctly, and she was beaten. Yeah. And
there's massive protests going on right now.
There's going to be a lot more.
Yep.
A lot more. Just like when they held the Americans hostage in the embassy there, and the Iranians were protesting because they wanted the Shah gone. Well, these people are going to be protesting because they're tired of this theocracy.
Yeah.
And, will patriarchal countries like this ever treat women equally? Well, there's going to be a lot more people protesting in Iran, and it's going to be very near a civil war in that country.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling.
And the religious police are the ones that arrested her. And so I see that theocracy being overturned.
Yeah. It's going to, a lot of these countries, I think it's going to sadly take some time before, women are treated more equally. But I do feel like it does feel like there's like a revolution almost going on in a lot of these places right now.
Well, And then they're asking about girls not receiving education in Afghanistan. Will they ever get their human rights back? My feeling is the same thing that's going to happen in Afghanistan at some point that's going to happen in Iran.
Yeah.
People who have been suppressed by the radicalized religious people over there are going to start speaking up. And what's happening in Iran is going to spread to places like Iraq, places like Afghanistan, and places where people have been tortured and murdered and arrested because they didn't go along with a religious regime. So, and at some point, I think there'll be an end to theocracies, but we need to look at what's going on here because this country is becoming a theocracy.
Yeah, it's going to definitely take some time. I don't know, with Iran, I really feel like the momentum right now there, but for a lot of the other countries, it's sadly going to take it's going to take a while.
Okay, this is somebody excited for the trip to Africa. Thank you, Angelag, I think. Now that the moderate party, right wing, and the Swedish Democrats, ultra right wing, and they call them Democrats, have joined forces to form a new Swedish government, what is the fate of immigration, renewable energy? They want nuclear power and the economy. Will Sweden become polarized just like the US under Trump? Will it also dissolve or will it also affect or dissolve the monarchy? They're going to try, but I think the same thing that's going to happen in Sweden. Sweden used to be pretty liberal,
Yeah.
But I see the ultra right not holding the power there long.
I don't know how their election cycles work. I didn't even know that Sweden had a monarchy.
I think it's the same way. It's probably a constitutional monarchy. So they have the parliament, and the parliament, they join forces to elect like a prime minister. If anybody's in Sweden, and if I'm misquoting that, correct me, because I don't know, but I'm assuming that's what it is. But I see the monarchy holding. But these people aren't going to stay in power for. I mean, they'll try to, crack down on immigration, and they will try to, renewable energy, kind of do away with that. But ultimately, the same thing that happened there will happen here. The country is going to be very polarized. But I see at some point the liberals winning again.
I don't feel like it's going to be quite the same of what's going on here. I don't think it's going to be quite so polarizing or extreme. But I do think that they're going to try some stuff. But I'm with you. I don't feel like they're going to stay in power for too long. I don't know when their next election would be up or how that, how their rules all work over in Sweden. But
okay. Kate Hawkins, do you see any rain coming into the Santa Barbara Ventura area this fall? The answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
Going to be flooding. That's what I pick up.
I'm just going to ask my pendulum real quick, but I feel yes. Yeah, I'm getting a big yes. So, yeah, I think there is going to be quite a bit of rain.
Tina Eden wants to know. Thank you for all you do. Well, thank you, Tina. Do you see Michael Bennet, senator from Colorado, holding onto his seat? Republican John O'Day is challenging him.
Bennett, yeah, I think I see Bennett winning.
Laura Divari, is Alvin Bragg going to bring criminal charges against Trump? Finally, Letitia, I am sure, can share the information she has. I'm sure she's sending it to Bragg, but if he doesn't, they'll bring somebody in that will.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see that investigation stopping. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning of the show.
Because Bragg wasn't he like just the attorney for New York or something? For New York City or New York State? I don't even know.
I don't know either.
But I see Bragg out of office.
I'm going to throw a card on Bragg real quick.
I see him out of office. I just don't see him, because there's going to be a lot coming to the surface about Bragg. I won't make any accusations against him, but trust me, there's going to be a lot coming out about Bragg. So I just see him signing papers, and I'm thinking there must be resignation papers.
Yeah, well, he's got the hermit, so yeah, he's leaving.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he's leaving. here he is, in
Oh,
turbulent waters,
he's
sailing
going,
away and going to be the hermit, secluded.
getting sold down the river.
But that evidence Letitia James sent them, they will act on it.
Oh, good.
Whether it probably won't be him because he's leaving, but
Well, if she sends it over him, if he doesn't, and that gets linked to the Trump organization, it's not going to look good. Hint, hint. Okay. Well, Nevra asked, and we touched on this. I'm wondering if New York and the IRS will take Trump properties and financial holdings to make it for the tax fraud. I wrote on my notes here before we came on, properties seized. I wrote in really big letters.
Yep.
So,
his whole organization, all of his money, all of his kids' money, I see them losing everything.
Well, I mean, by the time that over those years when he wrote all that off, it's bank fraud, and that, the money that people lost, and with taxes, with penalties, interest, all of that. And if they try to do an offer and compromise, the government's going to say no. Yeah. The government's going to own a lot of that property. And I don't know if they'll auction it off or what they'll do with it, but it ain't going to be Trump.
No.
And they're also going to investigate offshore accounts with that family because there's money offshore, and they're going to find that too.
And even how they got a lot of these loans through like Deutsche Bank. I see a lot of information coming out about that.
And other banks, because there's informants that's going to come through to talk about some of the deals that were cut behind closed doors with Russia. And I'll tell you what's going to come front and center again, and I won't mention the E word because I don't want to go to YouTube jail. But the Mueller report is going to come back front and center. And there's going to be somebody that come along and say in the government, wait a minute, Bill Barr said that this wasn't prosecutable, but it is.
Oh, and Barr's going to be in trouble for that too.
Deep trouble because he lied. So he thinks he's out of the woods, but he's trying to backpedal and cover his tracks. But my guides always show me indictments with Bill Barr and him not being out of the woods. So, okay. Water Lily. I like that name.
Yeah.
Hello, Mel and Kevin. Love you both. Well, we love you too, Water Lily. My question is regarding Ginny Thomas. She's doing an interview, however, not under oath. Well, if she lied, doesn't mean anything. Will she ever be made to give testimony under oath? I see her sworn in, and if she's smart, she'll say, I don't recall. But I do see them investigating her.
I see the DOJ going after her too.
And I see her in trouble.
Yeah. DOJ will go after her as well.
I keep seeing Clarence Thomas off the court. So if that case goes to the Supreme Court, he's got to recuse himself. He doesn't have to, but it wouldn't look good. I keep seeing a rule of conduct and ethics written, like a mandate or a law that these justices have to follow. And if it's a conflict of interest, they'll have to recuse themselves. And I also see term limits coming for Supreme Court justices, because what's going on now, they're going to make sure it could never happen again. Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of new rules and regulations put in for the Supreme Court. I even feel for the House and Senate as well.
Nancy Vasquez, when's a good time to buy a car? We had another rate hike yesterday. Was it an interest rate? I don't know what she's
talking. Interest rate hike, yeah.
Okay, well, that means my adjustable rate's going to go up. But, well, I see interest rates coming down. I think they're doing it to try to curb inflation and to slow the over speculation in the real estate market, because that could hurt the economy.
Yeah. They're trying to slow down the economy so people aren't buying as much, so they can get this inflation under control, get prices down.
Correct.
I think it's going to be better. I think it's going to be a little while, but I think I'm feeling good about like fall of next year. So I think they're going to continue the hikes for a little bit.
I see the used car market crashing. So there's going to be incentive for people to buy electric cars and tax breaks and things like that.
Yeah.
Write-offs for it. So I guess that's a good thing,
Mm.
which would bring gas prices down. Okay.
I actually had a question. I have some questions too. But
Okay.
somebody asked me about electric cars, and let me see if I can find it. Roberta asks, as we switch over to electric cars, we will certainly have a glut of old ones. Do you see older cars being recycled into electric cars? I can understand it's quite expensive to do that in general. Do you see us learning how to recycle our billions of electronic devices?
I don't see that they're going to recycle the cars like an internal combustion car into electric car, but I think what they'll do is take the metal,
Yeah,
melt it down, and make new cars.
recycled that. Yeah.
Um, I'm saying that there's going to be a whole new generation of mechanics coming because everything's going to be electric cars. So, people who work on internal combustion, I think within the next 20 or 30 years will be obsolete. They're going to have to learn electric engines and things like that. I'll tell you what, if it were me, what I would invest in would be the charging stations. It's kind of like, when the internal combustion came about, Henry Ford started the assembly line, but the people that really made money were the gas stations.
Right.
Cars had to have gas. And so the charging stations are going to be what to invest in.
Yeah, and that's going to be, I think, huge within like the next decade, with our infrastructure building all of these, electric charging stations.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's a great
thing. It's going to be huge.
Exactly. That was a good question. Okay, Grace. With the long game strategy of the Federalist Society influencing judicial appointments, GOP gerrymandering, and voter suppression tactics, and election deniers seeking office, do you see any problems like civil unrest or election challenges after the midterms, particularly like states in Texas and Florida? I think
they're going to try it.
And they might.
I do see some civil unrest around the election time, unfortunately.
They might allege voter fraud, but let's see.
I see a lot of
civil unrest, but the civil unrest is going on now.
Yeah. Well, and Trump is so desperate right now. He's already stoking up his base in QAnon, because he knows he's going to be indicted here soon. But yeah, come election time, I do see that a lot of these election deniers are out protesting. I do think it might get a little ugly in some areas, although I think the FBI and DOJ are keeping an eye on a lot of that. And I do see a lot of cases taken to court, but they're not going to win.
Okay. All righty. Do you have a question, Kevin?
Yeah. Well, this kind of goes with it. Jan B says, "Hi, Fab Duo, Kevin, Mel. Thank you. Hope you both are feeling better. My question is, FBI says they are constrained in the investigation of domestic terrorism since there are not officially designated as terrorist groups. Will Congress finally do something about it since the threats are so high? Of course, that would name many of the GOP with that monkier as well. Thank you both."
The answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
It's going to be yes. These people who try to turn over the government, they're going to say it was an act of terrorism. They're going to investigate that, and say and be labeled as a terrorist organization.
Yeah, I see that as well too. After midterms, I think they'll get that done.
I forgot who it was when the Soviet Union first came about. I don't know if he was a Soviet. I don't know if it was Leon Trotsky or Nikita Khrushchev. I forget. But one of them said, we don't have to worry about destroying the United States. If they're not careful, they can do that internally. And it was kind of prophetic.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a communist, because I'm not. But, it also happened in the Soviet Union. It wasn't a foreign power that took them down. It was internally that
All
Because,
right. I mean, look what's happening now in Russia. It's getting ugly over there right now too.
well, people were asking about Ukraine. I keep saying the Ukrainians will not give up. And now I guess Putin is amassing 200,000 or 300,000 troops, but I still don't see him winning. I think
No.
he's going to use chemical weapons, but if he does, that's going to bring NATO in. I don't see nuclear, but I see NATO getting involved. And
I think if he could do the nuclear, he would. But for some reason, I don't think he'll be able to do that. And I actually think those around him are going to get rid of him very soon.
well, I had predicted that there's going to be a lot of Russian soldiers defecting and going to fight for Ukraine. And
Mm,
a lot of the people from Belarus who are soldiers supposedly fighting against Ukrainians will join the Ukrainian forces. And I see almost like a civil war in Belarus and people
mhm.
getting rid
Yeah,
of that. I forget the president's name there, Lukashenko or something, who's Putin's puppet.
right.
So, a lot of the Russian people do not like Putin.
No.
And so,
Well, I mean, how many people, have how many of their own people have, their kids have already died because of this war that he got them in.
right.
Yeah.
Um, Mary Ann Johnson, hi, Mill and Kevin. Do you see a good outcome if I go out of the country to have my teeth worked on? I'm not going to answer that. I'd be very careful of where you're going because I've heard the horror stories. People go to another country, kind of third world, to get plastic surgery. They wake up during the surgery, and I mean, the infection rate and things
Yeah.
like that. So I would clearly do your research. Now, I do know some people that have gone to some Eastern European countries for dental work, and it was fine. But I'm not going to say do it or don't do it. That's
Right.
you. I don't want to carry that karma. All right. Okay, Kevin, you would be better able to answer this one than I would. What
Okay.
do you see for the Ohio Senate race between J.D. Vance, is it, and Tim Ryan?
I've read on this before. I feel like a lot of these election races, the energy has changed so much and it's kind of back and forth. I do feel like Tim Ryan has a chance in this. Let me throw a couple cards and see where the energy is now. But I do think it's going to be so close.
Okay, while you're talking on
Yeah.
that, A.M. Lamb, I can't, anyway. Can we ask questions about some of the politics if it isn't personal? Yes, you can. She wants to know about soulmates. How are they formed? Well, I don't, everybody's going to really give me some nasty comments on this one, but I never looked at the word soulmates. I think it was way overused. I do think there's a soul connection.
Yeah.
And I think a soul connection is someone with whom we've shared past lives and things like that. But a soul connection doesn't have to be your romantic partner. It could be your dog. It could be, your best friend. So a soulmate or a soul connection doesn't always refer to a romantic partner. Anyway, that was a good question, actually.
Yeah. I threw on Tim Ryan. The cards are a little back and forth. Pendulum says yes, Tim Ryan will win, but he's definitely he's a little behind. He's defending himself right now.
Now, is Tim a Democrat?
He's a Democrat. Yeah, there is some momentum towards Tim Ryan at the moment. I'm not sure about his donations. Well, I think J.D. Vance actually just got a bunch of money poured into his campaign. I get that it's going to be really close. It'll be like a nail biter. I don't love it. Feels maybe a little restricted, but ultimately, I think yes, he will. But it's going to be really close. Pendulum says yes for Tim Ryan.
Okay. Let me just do this.
I think it all depends on the women turnout, is what I just heard.
Okay. I lost my hold on, I lost my place here.
I have a couple questions.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, let's see. All right. Laura says hi to two favorites. What do you think the future holds for terrorist groups like the ones involved in the J6 attack? I'm concerned about their planning and growth. Well, we kind of talked about that a little bit, but
Right. Here's a good one from Leslie Gall from
Mhm.
Australia. I would like to know if any of these so-called televangelists ever be caught for all the hate they spew and people believe them and give them money. Cheers from Australia. Well, Leslie, that's a really good question. I see a lot of investigation into that because when they go on the pulpit and get really political, they're not supposed to because there's a separation of church and state. Don't tell that to Lauren Boebert because she just thinks it's about babies, Jesus, and guns. Who was a politician that said there shouldn't be any separation of church and the state? That's what this
Oh yeah,
country.
one of them just said that. I don't
That's what
remember
this
who it
country
was.
was founded on.
Right. I think it was MTG. It might have been Boebert. So.
We won't talk about her idiocy. Anyway,
they're going to start taxing some of these churches, especially if they're political.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is living proof that some human beings really do share DNA with amoebas, you know. That was polite. Anyway, I think if they do that, then they're going to lose their tax exempt status.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of investigations going on with some of these big televangelists, like with Jim and Tammy, with Jim Baker, you know, like what happened with him. With, you know, they're still going to start investigating where these donations are going.
Yeah.
They're being used for what there's the church, those televangelists say they're being used for. So, so we'll wait and see, but you mark my words. All right. Okay, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Julie Tardy, I like this. My Trump-loving son said this morning, if Trump broke all the laws that you said he did, why haven't they arrested him yet? Because you just can't arrest somebody unless you have probable cause.
And it's kind of an unprecedented situation too. But I mean, I see him being indicted for sure.
If we just arrested Trump based on what they're investigating right now without probable cause, then we're as bad as Trump.
Yeah.
That means that we are a banana republic and we can arrest people for any reason we want. You know, what's going on with them investigating Trump is proof that the democratic system works. Because as much as I dislike the man and as much as I disagree with the man, he still has rights.
Yeah.
As we all do. Now, he thought he was above the law. And, you know, the wheels of justice are slow. But they just can't arrest you unless they have probable cause. And I think you have to have, in some cases, the grand jury doing an indictment with this in the federal system. So that argument, that question, in my opinion, doesn't hold water.
Just wait till next year with all these trials going on.
Oh, and what's going to happen is once, you know, he's indicted and stuff like that, oh, it's a witch hunt. They
right.
didn't blah, blah,
There's
blah.
always an excuse for something.
Correct.
Okay.
Vicky Sigler, will the World Economic Forum get their way to stop greenhouse gases and grow meat in a lab and destroy animals that produce the meat we consume? I don't get that. I do think that they're going to get their way in stopping a lot of greenhouse gases, yes. I don't know about the animal thing.
Yeah, it's going to take some time though still too.
Okay.
I have a question, Mel.
Yes.
Says, Christina says, thank you for this reading. You are great together. Thank you.
Dun, 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 dun.
Will we find out?
For you, how's that?
We kind of. Okay. Will we find out about the Texas investigation on DeSantis before midterms? Also, his actions affect his choice of being reelected. Yes, I definitely see it affecting his chance of being reelected.
And Abbott.
Well, and I think in Florida and Texas, the Latino population there has been a little bit of a shift. I think it's still more Democratic, but they're getting the Republicans are getting some gains, and I see this really turning a lot of them off.
Okay. Shell Freeman says, how much money does Trump have left? Trump didn't have as much as he said he had. He was inflating his properties so he could get bank loans. And that's exactly why he didn't want his income taxes released. Probably because he didn't file them. But he knew that he would, that he would get caught. He politicizes everything, but his sidestepping is not going to work. No. I mean, it blew my mind. Of all the crazy things he's ever done, it absolutely blew my mind when he's going like, well, I could just think that they're declassified or declassified. Right. I wish I could do his impersonation. I haven't got it down yet. But I mean, it's like, what?
Yeah, it's just his excuses are just getting crazier and crazier, aren't they? Somebody can't defend themselves very well. Wiki asks, do you see reversals to some of the open carry laws that have popped up all around the country? Peace to you both.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, all right. Smart, Savvy, and Love said, who will win Florida in November? Does Satan or Charlie Crist? I think Charlie Crist used to be a Republican, and now
he did used to be a Republican. I had read on this before, and I felt like it would be Crist, but I feel like it's kind of going back and forth because not that long ago, I felt like it might be to Satan.
Okay.
I don't know. That one is going to be really tight as well, I think. I'll throw a card on to Satan and see if he wins.
All right. This was a good one.
Yeah.
Who indicts first, Georgia, New York, or the DOJ? Looks like
the DOJ.
New York.
I think it'll be the DOJ, but I don't think New York is too far behind.
Well, they're all going to be federal indictments.
Yeah.
So just in different cases. And you know what? The reason for that is if they don't get them on this one, they'll get them on that one. Did you hear what I said?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff going on.
No, there'll be a lot of different federal indictments, and the reason is if they don't get them on this one, they'll get them on that one.
Right. They have so many investigations going on.
Right.
I threw, as of right now, I feel like DeSantis is going to win. I hate to say.
I'm sorry?
I said I threw on DeSantis if he was going to win or lose, and I think with these cards, right now, I think he's going to win. But I see a bunch of investigations coming, and I don't think he'll be in there long if he does win.
Okay. Somebody asked about a stimulus check before the election. I see some kind of help coming. I don't know if they'll call it a stimulus check or what they'll do, but it's some sort of help.
Yeah, I think it'll be after the election, though.
See, I see it before, so here's where we could agree to disagree.
Timing's always a little hard to pinpoint, too. So
if I'm wrong, I'll come back and say, hey, guys, that was wrong. Okay. All right. Well, the stock market people are nervous about, but, it goes up and down depending on interest rates, depending on what's happening in the world. And, it'll come back up. Don't excel. If you got a good stock, if the stock market goes down, you've got a paper loss. And I say set on it and hatch it out, because they'll come back up.
Yeah. It's so unstable right now. I mean, it's up and then it drops a bunch. It goes back up. It's just kind of like back and forth. I don't see like a stock crash, though.
Cindy Hatch wants to know, in the state of Washington, will Patty Murray retain her position as a senior senator or the right-wing Stephanie Smiley? Well, I think Washington is pretty Democratic, but I see a win for the Dems there.
What were the names?
Well, in the state of Washington, will Patty Murray retain her position as a senior senator or the right-wing Stephanie Smiley? I see the
I think it's going to be the Patty
Murray, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that resonates more with me.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. No, I'm not going to read that one. Okay. Did Jenny Thomas leak the draft opinion on the Dobbs case? I think it's possible she got a draft from Thomas and was so thrilled she leaked it to the press.
I'm not feeling it was her.
I think so.
I think it was a clerk to one of the justices.
Right. Okay.
Somebody asked, what do you see for the state of New Mexico in November? Will Michelle Lujan Grisham be reelected? Do you see Yvette Hero losing her seat? She voted against overturning the election. I don't know who she's running against, Yvette Hero. I think she may lose her seat, I feel. And I think that Michelle Grisham will be reelected. That's what I feel.
Good. I just don't know much about New Mexico.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they ask questions like that, then I'll answer it later because I got to go look up and see who the candidates are.
Mm-hmm.
Let me concentrate on it. So, okay. Isn't it wild that this guy Deary, the special master, Trump's people wanted that, and
yeah,
that by them, and that's going to help to bring down Trump's demise as well.
Oh yeah. And yesterday too, when I was thinking about Trump after Letitia James's press conference, his face looked so red. He was so mad. I bet you his housekeepers were trying to keep the ketchup away from him.
Man looked like he had drank red dye.
Yeah. Oh, he was so upset.
I'm nervous about it.
He was seething. Mad.
His health looks horrible. I mean, he looks terrible.
Yeah, he's got to be careful with that anger too, with his health issues.
Okay. Let's see here. We've got time for one more, Kevin. Do you have one more?
Laura asks, she says, "Hey, Kevin and Mel, y'all are great. Thank you. I want to know how Ivanka is feeling today. Are the Trump kids strategizing now on how to not go to prison? Maybe trying the others?" I would say yes.
Wait, how are they nervous?
It says she said, how is Ivanka feeling today? And then, are the Trump kids strategizing on how not to go to prison? They're definitely strategizing on how not to go to prison. I think they're going to throw Junior under the bus and try to make him the scapegoat.
They were sweating like politicians, on election day. That's how nervous they were. I'm sure they were in the Valium bottle. Just give me another one. Give me another one. I don't advocate drugs. Okay. Very nervous and very angry. And how can they do this? And we didn't do anything. And oh my God. And
I think Ivanka is really freaking out. And like I said, I've always felt like she, in the end, will betray her father to save herself.
Well, Don Jr., I think, is more like his dad. He's so sociopathic, he wouldn't get it if it hit him in the face. The other one that looks like his dad, but I forget his name, the blonde.
Eric.
Oh, Eric. I don't mean this to be mean, but he's not the brightest crayon in the box.
No. Well, neither is Don Jr. either.
Yeah, but at least he's a little bit more of a con, I think.
Yeah.
But I think they're all really nervous. They really are. But here again, I think that Don Jr. thought that they were above the law, and they're not. And thought that maybe if anything came through that they would get pardons, but they're not going to.
No. Like I said, I feel like Junior might get some time behind bars because of this. The other two, I don't know. I don't feel it with Ivanka, at least.
Well, they still have enough that's indictable. Trust me.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have mentioned Trump in his stamp.
Oh, I'm not saying that they won't go after him, but I definitely think Ivanka will spill the beans to try to get maybe house arrest or something.
I just got a hit on something, my life.
What do you get it?
I'm just wondering if behind closed doors, Weaselberg didn't tip them in onto something, or will. I'd always said that he's going to talk.
Yeah.
And I have a funny feeling about that. So
I
if
don't
you
think he
hear
has
me,
yet, but he very well might.
I think so. All right, Kevin, it's been so much fun.
Yes, it's always fun, Mel.
All right, we're not going to be doing this next week because next Thursday I'll be in the Catskills with Linda Grindle. And, I'll be teaching. Jen Lynn's going to be there. Lynn's going to be doing group readings. And
Oh,
so,
nice.
yep. So I'm leaving Wednesday. I'll be back on October 2nd. So then that week I'll be on Kevin's show. So,
Yep, sounds good.
all right. So Kevin, how they get a hold of you again?
Well, please go over to my channel, Kevin Loving Vibrations, and subscribe. I would appreciate that. You can email me at kevinlovingvibrations@gmail.com if you're interested in a reading, or I do Reiki energy healing as well. Or you can call, text my cell phone number, 440-376-4088.
All righty. Everybody stay well, stay safe. Namaste. And I'll see you all on Monday because I'm going to be on Linda's show. And then the following Thursday with Kevin, I'll be on his show.
Sounds good.
All right. Stay well.
Bye, everyone.